Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Farzy show here at the Steven Singer Studios. Everything's on the table today, including Nick Sirianni. And hat tip to Bleeding Green Nation for putting this out there. Nick Sirianni does a little interview, a little play-by-play, a little breakdown, a little film room session. We'll get to hear from the Eagles head coach in that natural habitat I was talking about. Is he the same type of guy when he's breaking down film as he is in the press conferences? I would certainly hope not. But in the interest of fairness, we'll let you hear from Nick Sirianni when he is inside his natural habitat, when it's okay to feed the animals. We'll let you know that. We'll play that for you a little bit later. We're going to hear from pretty much every head coach except for the one that won last night, and that's Doc Rivers. Here's what we got. Mike Kaye will also join us coming up in about 20 minutes to talk about all things Eagles and where they are in the draft. Some great information from Mike Kaye of NJ.com. We'll hear from him in about 20 minutes or so. We won't hear from Doc. We will hear from Nick Sirianni. We will hear from Joe Girardi, and we will hear from Elaine Vigneault because the Sixers were the saving grace last night. And I think it was actually the perfect way. And as I was tweeting this, I was hoping it wouldn't be the perfect way, but it was the perfect way. I did a flip around the channels, and I know people always break my stones about not doing the triple box, right? But I just keep on doing a triangle formation with my eyes, and I just can't concentrate on anything if I have three screens in front of me. Usually at most, I'll do the laptop or the tablet, whatever, with one game and one game on TV, and I'll go checking back and forth like that. Well, last night, I was all about just flipping around. Because last night, you had the Sixers, the Flyers, and, of course, you had the Phillies in action. So I'm making my laps around the TV, and what I made was the Sixers were up 20, and I was like, all right, this is a good time to go and check on everything else. What else is going on here? Sixers were up 20, and then I flip over, boom, right there, the Flyers allow the shorthanded goal. The Brad Marchand shorthanded goal that just made me bang my head against the wall. And then I was like, Flyers. I was the guy predicting that you'd actually turn things around. And then at that point, I knew they were going to win the game. So I flip over to the Phillies, back to the Phillies. And the Phillies, Vince Velasquez is pitching. And he had just walked the bases loaded. That was the lap around the TV stations last night in trying to follow everything that was going around in Philadelphia sports. Now, I went back and I watched the vast majority of the Flyers game. Second period was awesome. I don't know where that energy was or where that spark was in the third period, but it was done. It was over. It didn't exist, didn't carry over even a little bit. So that was worrisome. Obviously, I watched a lot of Phillies as well, and I just got the feeling that once Vince Velasquez went into the game, and the two guys he really didn't want to see, Hale and Velasquez, both made it into the game last night. And after 4 games where you do see quite a bit of the bullpen, you're going to see some guys out of the bullpen that you don't necessarily want to see in that 5th game, and this was a perfect example of that. I think everybody kind of face-palmed when they saw Vinny Velo go into the game. So it came down to Hale, and Joe Girardi did explain his answer after the game, saying it came down to Hale or it came down to Velasquez, and he liked Velasquez's matchup going through the meat of the order, and he was able to get through it, but then I have suffered control problems and walked the bases loaded, ended up walking in a run, and the rest is history, and the Phillies really never recovered from that. So Joe Girardi explained that after the game, and he also explained the kind of state of mind Vince Velasquez is in. We'll get to that in just a second, but I do want to get to this. During the game last night, during the Phillies game last night, Tim Kurkjian, I guess, went back and had to triple check this stat. But baseball extraordinaire, knowledge extraordinaire, Tim Kurkjian, love Tim Kurkjian, ESPN. He's on the broadcast last night and says they did go back and confirm this. Vince Velasquez is the first pitcher ever in the history of baseball to have the following line: 1 1/3 innings pitched, no hits allowed, 4 strikeouts, 4 walks, 4 runs, all earned. Tim Kurkjian said he saw that line and went, I don't think I've ever seen that before in the live ball era. I don't think I've ever seen that before. And sure enough, they go back, triple check the stat. Yeah, it's never happened before. So Vince Velasquez actually made history last night. But the only thing that we care about is that the Phillies are now 4-1. So the undefeated streak, the undefeated conversation is over. thanks mostly to Vince Velasquez. I know everybody wants to pile on Vinny Velo, and I know everyone wants to pile on him for that last night. We kind of know what he is. When are the bats going to wake up? When's that going to happen? And Joe Girardi got in the after the game as well, just saying, it's start of the season, similar to what a lot of us have said, which is it's going to take a while to get into that hitting season, that hitting weather, as Charlie Manuel used to put it. And until then, look, I guess we're just going to have to go through struggling with watching guys like Bryce Harper, who struggled slipping all over the place in right field last night, but also has an opportunity in the game with 2 runners on, steps up to the plate. He belts the ball to left center field that gets tracked down by the Mets, and it just basically you're recording out. But that's a big-time situation for Bryce Harper. And I really need to see Bryce Harper get it going, especially in a situation like that last night where he's got 2 runners on. Everybody else, for the most part, is struggling. Rhys Hoskins, more credit to you, man. Last night, again, it's just, a 2-0 count, goes up looking for a fastball, gets that fastball, belts it against the left field wall, and just has their aggressive at that. And that's why I want to say Rhys Hoskins, because I believe that's the best version of Rhys Hoskins. But Bryce Harper steps up to the plate. I believe it was the 6th inning. He's got 2 runners on. You're down 3 runs, and he has an opportunity to really make some noise, and instead he just makes an out. Like, Bryce Harper has to be one of those guys that's continuously putting you in a spot where you feel like you can win a game. And I know he'll heat up at some point. I know he's going to be incredible for a couple of weeks, and then he'll probably hit another cold streak. But that would have been the perfect time where Bryce Harper, the guy that's supposed to be the perennial MVP candidate, actually step up and put you in a spot to win the game and make you feel like you weren't going to be left by the wayside by the Mets, who started scoring runs when Vince Velasquez started walking guys. And hey, Chase Anderson, you're your fifth starter. Aaron Nola's on the hill today to run the series with the Mets. But Chase Anderson did pretty much what I thought he would do yesterday, which was okay. Not great by any means, not necessarily good, but okay. I would go one notch below good and go okay. But at that point, it just seemed like your bullpen was going to be shot no matter who you put in there. And ended up doing all right. Certainly not as bad as Vince Velasquez, but when you walk 4 batters and you're walking a run, obviously, things aren't going to work out for you. Vince Velasquez obviously was a big topic during the postgame conversation last night. I said we'd hear from just about every manager or coach in Philadelphia today. So here's Joe Girardi on what happened with Vince Velasquez coming into the game last night against the Mets.
It's hard to explain. I mean, he went through the middle of their order, and I think he struck out the side, and he gets ahead of Guillorme, and he 1 and 2, and he walks him, but then he gets McNeil. It's really, he has not been on the mound, in a competitive situation for a while, but it's hard to explain. I mean, I was hoping he could get us through the 7th and maybe even into the 8th, and it just wasn't meant to be.
Joe Girardi, Vince Velasquez. Vince Velasquez, Joe Girardi. This is what he is, Joe. This is what Vince Velasquez is. You had him last year. You know the deal. Vince Velasquez is a wildly inconsistent pitcher. Wildly inconsistent. But the unfortunate thing is when he's most consistent, it's consistently bad. It's not a positive. And last night is a perfect example of that. And I think everybody, when you looked at Vince Velasquez coming in from the bullpen and you saw Joe Girardi coming in, rather, to take out Chase Anderson, you went, who's available? Who is just warming up in the bullpen? Vince Velasquez? That seems like a bad idea. But who else was it going to go to? David Hale is the guy that I mentioned earlier, and they weren't going to go. They weren't going to go there. They wanted him for later. But what's really wild is that Joe Girardi not just wanted him to come in for a couple of batters, but also had the idea of him pitching into the 7th inning. Wishful thinking. Hey, you know what? For all the undefeated jokes that people were making, for all the this team's great and that's great, I guess the reality check that we needed was Vince Velasquez coming into a game to bring us back down to earth, because that's exactly what happened last night during the Phillies-Mets game. But Joe, once again, meet Vinny, Joe, and now you two. I really hopefully don't have to talk much, because Vince Velasquez shouldn't be really pitching for this team anymore. And look, 5th game of the season, you finally see him. You knew you were going to see him at some point. He's still on the roster. Dave Dombrowski talking to you. He's still on the roster. So at this point, what do? Do you say, oh, he'll work it out? It's been, 5 years of trying to work it out? 4 years trying to work it out with Vince Velasquez? I think you've worked it out to the point of knowing what he is going to be. So I think it is time for the Phillies to move on and hopefully find a better option. I don't know who that is, but if it took this long to talk about the bullpen, well, you know, it actually feels like you're back in the right world, back in the right state of mind when coming to Phillies baseball here. I'm almost happy it took five games to talk about the Phillies bullpen in a negative light. That's what happened with the Phillies last night. Again, you got Nola back on the hill tonight, going up against their third starter. So hopefully that's a good matchup for the Phillies. Might be a live betting game tonight for the Phillies. So that's going on at Citizens Bank Park. Now, the other thing was the Flyers. And the Flyers, the second they get the Bruins monkey off their back, get the bear off their back, might be more appropriate here, they put it right back on their own back. Does that make sense? No, not really. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. And last night, they come out in the first period, I felt like the Flyers for a while now, and I said this yesterday, have had good energy in the first period. They just haven't been able to finish. They haven't been able to connect and all that stuff. But the second period, they actually bear some fruit. Second period, they actually get after it a little bit here. And then after that, they go into the third. You're not going to win a hockey game playing one period. And I can't question effort. I can only question talent level. And talent level is something that you just throw your hands up in the air and you say, well, wait a minute, hold on a second. Where are the big guys at? Like Shane Gostisbehere scored you your second goal last night. Good for Shane. Happy for Shane. You do want to see some of these other guys get it going. Travis Konecny is one of them. You thought the quarter was going to be in the machine after 2 nights ago. What happened against the Boston Bruins? You see him get involved in scoring, so that's great. But really, everywhere else you look, Claude Giroux has been your most consistent player. We've mentioned that for a while now. JVR needs to get it going again in front of the net. Sean Couturier, obviously, you want to see help him out in this type of situation. Like guys like that are the ones that should be stepping up. And yesterday, you didn't really have a lot of that. Last night, you barely had any of it. And in the second period, they were absolutely peppering Boston with shots on goal, with getting shots, with being aggressive, with having a great tempo. And then in the third period, when you needed it the most, it just disappeared. And Alain Vigneault's no dummy. After the game 2 nights ago against the Boston Bruins, he's doing his post-game press conference. He says, yeah, it's great to get this win, albeit in overtime where both teams still at least get 1 point. Flyers get the second point. But he said tomorrow night, meaning last night, was just as important. You had to win both these games, and you didn't win both these games. And in the period where you thought you were going to have the biggest sense of urgency, you got nothing going. And to allow a short-handed goal, a golden opportunity, to allow a short-handed goal like that oh, God, I hate Brad Marchand. But anyway, to see that happen last night is just another bad turnover. Poor puck play, and you just couldn't see this Flyers team get anything going after that, really. And it's almost like they knew that their season was done, and that's how it feels. And I feel like I am the last person to maintain any sense of optimism with this Flyers team, and it's done. It's play the rest of the season. Of course you are. Play the rest of the season, see how it works out. Get some more of these young guys going here. See Sam Moran a little bit more, and hopefully you have a nice little foundation for next year. That's how it feels right now. It feels like I am finally last one to the God, this season's over party. And I don't want to be at this party. This party sucks. But unfortunately, the Flyers have not played anywhere near top-notch hockey over the last month and a half. And I was trying to hold out hope, and it's just not there anymore. But here's Alain Vigneault after the game last night. Talking about what went wrong in this loss.
You know, we knew what was at stake going into this game. I thought our guys played urgency. Thought we played the right way. We checked when it was time to check. We didn't give them a lot of looks. We got some great looks. We weren't able to finish, and they were able to finish. So that was the difference in tonight's game.
40 saves. The Bruins made 40 saves. Swayman, the Bruins netminder, 40 saves in this game. Most of those shots coming in the second period. And I'm not one to look at the shots on goal and be like, oh, well, that tells the whole story. But in this case, in the second period, it kind of did, because that was your most successful period. That's the only period that you actually got 2 goals. You came back, tied the game. You obviously allowed an empty netter. What I thought was really interesting was Alain Vigneault was asked about Carter Hart's performance. And I didn't think Carter was awful last night by any means. I look more at the defense for what happened last night. And on a shorthanded goal, again, you allowed a 2-on-1 breakaway, which Carter Hart got beat. And that looked all too easy. But when he was asked after the game about Carter Hart, Elaine Vigneault just said he's a young goaltender who's playing a tough position, and that's pretty much it. It was like the most obvious statements you could have made. Like, it was all facts. There was no opinion in any of it, really. And he just was so matter-of-fact about it. It was about a 4-second answer, and it was more or less just kind of what do you want from me? I don't know what to tell you anymore. I did think it was interesting. He made one line change or shuffle last night. Oscar Lindblom, I believe, was moved up with Sean Couturier, and he didn't like Joel Farabee, so he moved Joel Farabee down, and Oscar Lindblom, he moved him up. He was trying to get some kind of offense going in that regard. If there's any complaint I have about Elaine Vigneault, it's that it seems like there's too much shuffling. Like, at some point, don't you have to trust these players to get it going themselves as opposed to constantly changing things up? And I thought we had talked about that a couple of weeks ago when he finally started to get some offensive output from, I believe it was Couturier again, James Van Riemsdyk, and Claude Giroux on the same line. Trying to get things going in that regard when they had a great comeback. I think it was against the Islanders. At some point, I think you have to let these guys try to figure it out for themselves. Put them on a line and say, hey, look, you guys figure it out. I can't shuffle anymore. I'm doing too much shuffling. Every day I'm shuffling, as a matter of fact. No song quote there. And it just, you couldn't get anything going last night. And now after that second period, you thought they'd come out in the third and do the thing that they had done. They had found some kind of groove. You heard Elaine Vigneault right there talking about the sense of urgency for the team. And by the time the third period rolled around, it seemed like they were just done with that urgency. And we could talk about effort. We could talk about talent and all that stuff. And really what it comes down to, as far as I'm concerned with this Flyers team, is something that, I don't know, I don't want to say it's an easier pill to swallow, but when you look at a team and you know they're just not good enough, it kind of makes it easier. And right now I'm at that point where I like a lot of players on this team, but for whatever reason, this isn't the year that they're going to be able to put it together. And a lot of that's defense. A lot of that is goaltending. Offense, you would love to step up and save you a little bit here. Hey, look, we were just talking about with the Phillies offense and getting their bats going. That wasn't the case at all. Right now you're relying on what you're doing defensively. Same thing with the Flyers last night. Everything they're really worried about right now is on the defensive end. Everything they're worried about right now has to come down to goaltending, and it comes down to how your defense is playing, and your defense is not playing well. And this is after a game where you actually got a goal from one of your defensemen and Shane Gostisbehere. I don't know what solves the problem at this point. I don't know what big trade the Flyers can go out and make. I don't think they are going to make a big trade. I don't think they look at one move as something that is going to turn the tides of this season. Either they're looking at it right now as already looking past this season and looking at next year to seeing what they can do. They're not going to pack it in, but as far as my expectations for this Flyers team, they are now packed in after not getting a point last night, after not winning last night in particular, and coming out of this two-game series, this two-game stop set here with the Bruins, with only the one victory, and albeit an overtime victory, and coming away from really how you have played the Bruins over 7 games so far this season, how you've played the Bruins and you're only able to win one of those games. Not exactly what you want to see from the Flyers. So that was Elaine Vigneault last night, trying to break it down for all of us to understand. But I thought one of the more interesting things that he got into after the game was his quote about Carter Hart, just saying playing a tough position. So hopefully the Flyers will be able to bounce back, and hopefully I'm wrong, but I feel like everyone is in the same boat I'm in right now with the orange and black. Now let's talk about a team that won. This is fun. There was no match for Joel Embiid last night. No match for him on the Celtics, which is why I told you yesterday I'm going in to bet the game. I did bet the game. We'll talk more about in our big bet segment, brought to you by DraftKings. The Boston Celtics suck. All right. Jason Tatum, no Jason Tatum. Boston Celtics are not a good basketball team right now. And when I saw that I could get the Sixers at a -1 going into last night, my thought was free money. So I jumped all over that with DraftKings. And we had talked about this on Monday with Rich Hoffman of The Athletic about Joel Embiid trusting his knee. You got to trust it, baby. And he trusted it last night. And a lot of times with guys coming back from injury, they have to be able to trust that part of the body that was hurt. Can I jump off this knee? Can I come down on this knee? All that stuff. He was fine last night. Joel Embiid played exactly how you want to see Joel Embiid play. Bully ball when he wanted to have bully ball. Finesse game when he had that like, it's funny. His step back jumpers aren't step back jumpers. They're like multi-step back jumpers. And the step back that he had last night was at least 2 steps back, and he drained a fadeaway the jump shot. It's just amazing to see. He did everything he wanted to do in last night's game against the Celtics. That's vintage Joel Embiid. That's exactly what you want to see from him. And he scored 35 points, went 16 of 20 from the foul line. And after the game, when he was asked by the TNT crew about his game, I think it was Reggie Miller trying to tee him up for like how great he was. And all Joel Embiid wanted to do was talk about how he missed 4 free throws. He goes, that's why they're free. That's why they're free. And it's like, yes, that's finally exactly what you and I are screaming at the TV when Ben Simmons is missing free throws. They're free. You're just supposed to be there. And Joel Embiid's like, yeah, I missed 4 shots last night from the foul line. Man, I suck. I'm really pissed off at myself. And that's actually what he said. I'm pissed at myself for missing those 4 free throws. That's the mentality you want. Guy goes out there, second game after coming back from the knee injury, and he's got he's got a brace on his leg the size of Manhattan, and he goes out there and he dominates. And afterwards, after he dominated, wasn't talking about how dominant it was. It was talking about how pissed off he was that he missed 4 foul shots. And he also went out there and said, I got to be a 90% foul shooter. Everyone knows I love getting to the line. Everyone knows I love putting up points there from the foul line, somebody else in foul trouble, and being able to be aggressive in that manner because I know I can go to the line and make my shots. I can't miss 4 free throws. After a 35-point night and a second game back from the knee injury, that's the exact mindset you want to hear for Joel Embiid. And the Sixers, they go out there and they sweep the season series with the Celtics. And the Celtics are just in disarray right now. I told you they're a terrible basketball team. They'll make the playoffs, and maybe the Sixers will see them in the playoffs, and maybe the Sixers will return the favor from last year of actually bouncing that out of the playoffs when by sweeping them. We'll see if that happens. The Nets, by the way, got some interesting news yesterday. James Harden going to miss around 10 games. Had an MRI. I think it was his hamstring, and he's going to miss some time. It looks like Kevin Durant is going to be back in the lineup for them. Sixers right now, I believe, enjoy the edge for first place again in the Eastern Conference. Let's just hope that this is a point where the Sixers are able to just take control of this and make a nice little run here when it comes to what they could do from this point on for the rest of the season. So hopefully this is a nice little run the Sixers can go on here to solidify their spot as the top spot in the Eastern Conference. But with Kevin Durant, it's fine. James Harden comes out. Kevin Durant, you're in. Almost too funny how that works out, right? All right. I got to tell you, before we talk to our friend Mike Kaye of NJ.com, and also the No Huddle podcast and all things Eagles, I do want to tell you about my good friend Steven Singer of Steven Singer Studios and Steven Singer Jewelers. How about that? And I had another friend of mine reach out to me and say, all right, look, I know you say you send everybody. Can you send me? Last night I got a text message from a friend of mine saying, can you send me? Because I know I send everybody there thinking about getting engaged. Can you send me? I said, I'm sending you. Steven Singer Jewelers, taking care of people with their engagement needs. And also Mother's Day just around the corner. And Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, IHateStevenSinger.com, has a brand new rose color for Mother's Day. Of course, Steven's got your back when it comes to this. Famous real roses dipped and trimmed in 24 karat gold now come in sunshine yellow, just in time for Mother's Day for Mom. The new rose is a brilliant shade of yellow that dazzles with sparkles. Steven has always been in the love business. He loves to mention that. And this past year, we've seen just how important love is. In addition to brightening your loved one's day with his amazing gold dip rose, Steven also wants to put a little sunshine in everyone else's day as well. So he is continuing to use a portion of each rose sold to support local restaurants by catering meals for all the incredible nurses, doctors, first responders, and hospital heroes. Go now to IHateStevenSinger.com. Send a sunshine gold dip rose this Mother's Day. It's a win-win-win. You'll give sunshine that lasts a lifetime to a loved one, like Mom, for instance. You'll be supporting local restaurants by thanking our essential workers, and you feel good doing it. Win-win-win. You can't go wrong. A lifetime guaranteed free personalized gift message as well. And also a fast, free shipping every single time with Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Simply say I love you and honor your mom on Mother's Day. Go to IHateStevenSinger.com. Steven Singer Jewelers, one place, one price, the perfect price every time at the other corner of 8th and Walnut. All right, when we come back from this interview, when we get done talking with our friend Mike Kaye, I'm going to let you hear Nick Sirianni in Natural Habitat and let you be the judge when it comes to all things Nick Sirianni, because we've seen the press conferences. I've played the press conference highlights for you, or lowlights if you, and we haven't really heard him in that film study type of setup. On PhiladelphiaEagles.com with Fran Dunphy, who does the film studies on there, does a great job with them. He actually talked to Nick Sirianni and had a breakdown of play when he was with the Colts. So we'll hear from Nick Sirianni in that Natural Habitat after we talk to Mike Kaye. And I'll tell you this, I have a lot of respect for Mike Kaye. We disagree on our stance on the Eagles moving back in this draft. But Mike does make an interesting argument here when it comes to trading back and what we can do for the Eagles over the next 2 seasons. So without further ado, on the Zatos Investments guest line, Mike Kaye joins the program. Right now on the Zatos Investments guest line, our good friend from NJ Advanced Media, NJ.com, Mike Kaye joins the show. Mike, what's happening, brother?
Well, I'm really thrilled that you actually said NJ.com, not NewJersey.com, because I don't write for them. But that seems to be how I'm typically booked, or built up. That's my
New Jersey.
But you're
take the time. Yeah, well.
Yeah, but you're a pro, so it's okay. So what's going on?
Nothing. I'm honored because I believe you're the second person in a week to debut a new look. You got a goatee here. Paul Hudrick had a man bun, little top bun going on, but you were much more acceptable, I feel, rocking the goatee. How long has this been going on?
Well, I actually let my hair grow out pretty long. I'll send you a picture when we get off here, but my hair was very, very long. I look like, I don't know if you're an old wrestling fan, but like I look like Billy Kidman in the 90s. My hair was like, and so I got my haircut yesterday. And then before that, I was like, they're going to totally screw up my beard. So I just trimmed this and made it work.
Nice. Well, I'll tell you what, when we're done, if I have your permission, can I put up a side-by-side of you and Billy Kidman after the interview?
Yeah. If I can find the picture. I think I took a picture a little bit ago.
Fantastic. Mike, where are we at right now? Obviously you do a great job with NJ.com. You do a great job with the No Huddle podcast. Do a great job covering the Eagles in general. Where are we at right now? That's why I wanted to have you on. Obviously, the Eagles pick at number 12. They moved back from 6. Old news by now. But now it seems like a lot of those top 4 teams are starting to get a lot of offers for people to try to move into the top 4, including the Atlanta Falcons. Where do you think the Eagles sit in all this? They're just staying at 12 and that's that? Or is there any chance that they'd actually move back into the top 5, let's say?
Well, I've said it several times. I don't really even know if they pick at 12. They're really set up to where picking at 12, they can get back into the top 8 by just trading a 3rd-round pick. It's like as easy as pie for them, right. Really. So let's say Atlanta does trade back, right? The hope for them would be that a team like Washington or a team like the Patriots or a team like Chicago, a team that's still behind them in the pecking order, forces Atlanta out of that whole conversation, because of the teams in the top 10 who would probably like to get their hands on Kyle Pitts, Atlanta would be that team. So moving them out, you're pushing a skill player down the pile. You're putting a quarterback at 4. So the top 4 picks are all quarterbacks. First time in NFL history that would happen. 5, you're probably looking at Jamar Chase with the Bengals. 6, you're looking at a wide receiver with the Dolphins, one of the Alabama guys. 7, you're looking probably at whichever wide receiver doesn't go to Miami. That's probably why they traded up to 6. So that's a context clue. Then once you get to 8, now that this Sam Darnold trade has happened, the Panthers really have no reason to spend on a quarterback at 8. Plus, it'd be the 5th available quarterback. They really need blocking, and they need a left tackle. So if you look at Penei Sewell or you look at Rashawn Slater from Northwestern, boom. So those guys push guys down the pile. Now, if the Eagles want a cornerback or they want Kyle Pitts, they probably want to jump the they probably want to jump the Broncos or the Cowboys. So let's say that the Panthers feel like they can get an offensive tackle at 12. Cool. Well, the Eagles can send their 84th overall pick or their 70th overall pick. The Panthers can replenish their draft pick stock, and the Eagles can move up and get Kyle Pitts or a corner. The same can be said with the Broncos. You look at getting in front of the Cowboys and the Giants. A lot of people keep talking about how, man, it sucks to be picking behind the Giants and the Cowboys. Don't worry about them. The Cowboys haven't been a Super Bowl contender in 25 years. The Giants have had the worst record, I think, over the last 3 years in the NFL. So you're looking at doing what's best for you. And doing that is either getting yourself a corner or the best playmaker in the class. And that means jumping probably the Giants or the Cowboys for that player.
All right. Mike Kaye, NJ.com, No Huddle Podcast as well. So as of right now, if they do stand pat at 12, do you see them going with offensive line help? Do you see them going corner? Or do you see them getting a weapon for Jalen Hurts?
Well, as I wrote in our exclusive Eagles Extra mailbag last week, if they stay at 12, I think it's a defensive pick. I don't think you trade back into the 10 to 20 range without realizing that a bunch of offensive players are going to be taken in the top 10. And that's going to push almost all, if not, everybody but one player into that 10 to 20 range. There's this thought process that there's no standout defensive players in this class or guys that are standout enough to be taken in the top 10. A lot of it has to do with team needs and team desires to get better at quarterback or wide receiver or what have you. You're going to see guys like J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain possibly making it out of the top 10. You're going to see a guy like Kwity Paye, who I think the Eagles will have a lot of interest in given the way he performed at his pro day, given some of his raw potential, and given where he went to school, Michigan. We all remember an undersized defensive end being selected in that 10 to 12 or 10 to 20 range quite a while ago in Brandon Graham. And then you look at guys at linebacker. Maybe this is the year to take a linebacker, because when you really consider the value, it's about value, right? It's about valued assets, and that's why they haven't taken a linebacker in the past. Well, guess what? They traded back, got a 2022 first-round pick, and Xavier Collins or Jeremiah Uwasu.
Good luck.
Butcher his name. I call him Jeremiah Okay, is what I call him.
Very nice.
Getting one of those two players and a 2022 first-round pick is a great return on investment. Now, a lot of people are focused on the offense of this class. The thing is when you say you have a deep offensive class, it means you have a deep offensive class, and that means that good talent's going to fall down the board. Oh, and guess what? I mentioned that third-round pick. If the Eagles stay at 12, they're set up to really trade back into the first round with one of their third-round picks and get into that top 25 pick range. They could pick up a wide receiver like Rashad Bateman, a Terrence Marshall, somebody like that. So they're really set up to move around the board. This trade back was very smart. They got a 2022 first-round pick to go back 6 spots, and they can easily trade back into the top 10. Plus, if they decide not to do that and focus on defense, they can trade back in and grab another wide receiver in this talented wide receiver class. I know everybody has heard this is the top running back class of all time, and then they draft Donnell Pumphrey, or this is a great wide receiver class, and they draft J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, or this is a great pass rusher class, and they draft Sharif Miller in the 4th round. They're in position to move around this board as they choose, and I don't think you trade back without having an aggressive strategy in place.
Okay, well, that I like the sound of, because I hate moving out of 6, because I so desperately wanted Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts to be a weapon for Jalen Hurts at least this year, and then whoever their quarterback would be going forward. So that at least makes me feel a little bit better. That's definitely an optimistic way to look at it. It is not just optimistic, but also very real. So I was just going to ask you this then. If you're on board with this pick, or excuse me, with this move to move back in the draft, which it seems like you are, Howie Roseman then most likely will be making at most 3 first-round picks next year. So really the end doesn't appear to be anywhere in sight for the Howie Roseman regime.
Yeah. Oh, was that a question? Yeah. No.
Yeah. Like
he's going to spend those picks.
Yeah, but I'm saying it. I'm saying it because, I feel like when Doug Peterson was out, and granted it was Doug that was basically forcing his own way out, saying this is what I want and that's that. But with that happening, it feels like a lot of people were saying, okay, well, Doug's out, so that means Howie's going to be one more year. And it's not that at all. It still seems like the foreseeable future with Howie Roseman, doesn't it?
Well, I think when you bring in somebody who's a young coach like Nick Sirianni and you decide to trade back and you have this idea of a transition period, you're not going to just immediately jettison the architect of that right away. And as much as we criticize Howie Roseman, and he deserves tons of criticism for his drafts and his free agent approach over the years, he has done a really good job of building up programs. It's sustainability that's been the problem. And as you're seeing right now, their approach to free agency has changed because it has to. Their approach to the draft is going to have to change because it has to. We remember not too long ago, I mentioned Sharif Miller and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. That 2019 draft class is the worst return on investment I've ever seen in 10 plus years of covering the draft. Worst I've ever seen. But that's 5 picks, right? Mm-hmm. Well, now they've got 11 picks here. They've got 9 picks next year. And they're premium picks. Like, they're utilizing the opportunity to take a bunch of shots at the lottery, right? Mm-hmm. And when you say 3 first-round picks, I don't think they end up spending 3 first-round picks. I think that's going to be a situation where if Jalen Hurts performs well, they move up to get the best playmaker on the board, and then they have another first-round pick to get another offensive lineman. If he bombs, they're trading up to get a quarterback. So while the multiple first-round picks does seem appealing, and it does also seem kind of nerve-wracking because Howie Roseman's making those picks, I think there's a plan in place. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, there's no plan. It's Howie. I don't think you make this move unless everybody has an understanding of what you're trying to accomplish.
The school I'm in a little bit here still, and this was my first reaction to it. The school I was in was, if any other team is doing this, I'm like, oh, wow, that seems like a smart strategy. Good job by them. But the fact that it's Howie Roseman, and as you just mentioned, the 2019 draft was so terrible, that's just one of many for Howie. It's like you're giving $1 billion to somebody that you don't trust spending it. Like, sure, they have a lot of money. They got a lot of assets in this regard. But are you really trusting them in how they're going to invest that money, or in this case, these draft picks?
Well, and that's how the fan base feels, right?
Right.
I think I'm just looking at it from an objective view. This was a smart business move. Look, guys go ebb and flow with their success in the draft. John Schneider's still getting pats on the back for drafting Russell Wilson when he has had some of the most horrific drafts in recent memory. Bill Belichick's a guy who, Howie Roseman gets a lot of crap for not trusting his scouts. Well, I mean, Albert Breer just reported that he went against his scouts saying with N'Keal Harry. So, this happens all the time. Jason Licht was one of the worst GMs in the league 3 years ago. He just won a Super Bowl. Right. So everybody ebbs and flows. There's no perfect GM. I was talking to an agent the other day. He said I could put my 5-year-old in a chair and they could do a better job than an unnamed GM. So again, the league's view of Howie Roseman is much different than the fan base's view, whether right or wrong. That's just how it is. And I think Howie Roseman's giving himself as many, shots at the slot machine as he possibly can, which is the right way to conduct business, whether you are good at drafting or not.
Mm-hmm. I want to go back to something. You mentioned a couple of defensive players that would be there on the board, most likely at 12 for the Eagles to select. One name you didn't mention for the Penn State audience is Micah Parsons, linebacker. Is he not good enough for a 12th overall pick? Do you think he gets taken later in the draft? Where do you think he ends up going?
I think that he will be a top 20 pick. I don't know if he's necessarily – look, I still don't believe they're going to draft a linebacker. I think he'd be a scheme fit. I think he could be like an Anthony Barr for them. I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. I think they've kind of wanted to branch out and kind of go against the whole local thing as far as Penn State goes. I think that's been hit or miss. Miles Sanders hit. Sharif Miller miss. And I also think when you look at this, the way they haven't drafted a linebacker in the first round since 1979. And I think what they're looking for is a genuine will linebacker. To me, you would use him in multiple areas, and that's not a problem. But I think when you look at some of the character stuff, when you look at some of, him not playing last year, that's an incomplete grade, as it were. I think the Eagles are going to try to play this safe.
All right. So who do you think they end up taking at number 12?
I mean, it's hard to know without knowing who's on the board. I'm not trying to cop out.
No, I understand. Let me put it to you like this then. For the people that do want the sexy pick, the wide receiver, let's just say that Devonta Smith or Jalen Waddle are still on the board. Where would you go between those two?
I think they take Waddle. They've been missing a Torrey Smith like burner since Torrey Smith's been gone, and he reminds me of Torrey Smith as a prospect. Torrey Smith's draft was one of my first drafts that I covered, and They're like identical on tape. It's very weird. Now, Torrey Smith was the second round pick. Things change the way the league works, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I would go with Waddle.
You would go with Waddle in that regard. And defensively saying, let's go with JOK on the board. Would you say you would go over him then, obviously, over Parsons?
No, I wouldn't.
Oh.
But here's the thing. If JC Horn or Patrick Surtain's available, I jump at one of those two guys.
Okay.
They need corner more than they need oxygen to breathe at this point. No, seriously. If
you're right. No, I agree with you.
Outside of Darius Slay, they've got no proven assets. They're going to move Avonte Maddox back in the slot into nickel. Terrific. But other than that, they have nothing going on there. So, and by the way, Darius Slay's on the wrong side of 30. So you need his tag team partner and his heir apparent in one pick there. And by the way, the wide receiver class is way deeper than the cornerback class. Like once you get past like those top 50 picks, those cornerbacks, huge drop off. Not that they're bad, but a huge drop off in my opinion.
Understood. So overall, as we talk with this interview airing on the 7th of April, the draft obviously at the end of the month. Overall, right now, what type of season are you expecting for the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC East?
I see a 7-9 season. I think they'll improve. I think Washington's gotten immensely better. Just by having a program established. I think Dak Prescott, if he's back and rolling, the Cowboys are the team to beat in the division. And then I think the Giants have gotten a lot better over the offseason. I know they've won the offseason, quote unquote, with free agency, but I do think they've gotten better. If Daniel Jones is playing up to snuff, like they can contend. I would say though, I could see the Eagles being a wild card just because it's all on Jalen Hurts' shoulders. We don't know what Nick Sirianni is. We don't know what Jonathan Gannon is.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with you. All of this, I think, is very much on Jalen Hurts' shoulders, and if he could get some healthy weapons around him, the offensive line obviously stays healthy. We're talking about a totally different football team than what we saw end the season last year. Mike Kaye, NJ.com, No Huddle Podcast. Make sure you're following this man. Let me see if I got it off the top of my head. At Mike_E_K. You
got it. It's the worst handle in the history of Twitter, but maybe we're here. You know what I mean? We're representing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mike, I can't tell you. Thank you so much for coming on, man. I know you got a busy schedule tonight. So thank your young son for me, and also thank the missus for me for letting you free for a couple of minutes.
Oh, I appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely, and great job on the goatee. Looking strong, brother. It doesn't look like the evil Michael Kaye. It just looks natural. You know what I mean?
Well, I always want to do a mustache just to mess with my wife, but I immediately get like no, this isn't working, and then I'm fresh faced, and that doesn't work for anybody.
No, that's not good for anybody, especially if you go facial hair for so long. Yeah, nobody wants that. Mike, always great catching up with you, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Mike Kaye joining us here on the Zatos Investments guest line. My thanks again to our good friend Mike Kaye for jumping on the line with us. As promised, Mike did send me the picture of what he looked like before he got his haircut. Folks, if you're watching this with your kids, you might want to look away right now. Oh, God! I like the selfie where no one smiles. Where he knows this is the before and after he's going to be showing people. Mike's a good sport. Good friend of the show, buddy of mine. Yeah, so that's Mike. Couldn't find a good picture of the wrestler fella, but if quarantine was a photo, that would be it for Mike. Anyway, we're going to get to our morning rush coming up in just a second. We'll also get to our social media check-in. I see some comments coming in here with our friends here on YouTube, so we'll talk to you guys in just a second. But right now, I want to tell you about our friends at DraftKings. That's right, America's top-rated sportsbook app. You want to talk about playoffs? You want to talk about little hoops and playoffs and all that stuff? Well, make sure you're betting with DraftKings and DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. They're putting you in the center of the action with a chance to turn $1 into $100 in free bets. Turning $1 into $100 is simple. Just pick any basketball team to win their next game, and during the game, if that team hits a three-pointer, you win $100 on a $1 bet. You'll win $100 in free bets with that one bet. That's 100-1 odds on the team of your choosing. Just hit a three-pointer, and they don't even need to win the game. This year, teams have been hitting threes at an unprecedented pace, so get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook before this offer ends. DraftKings, safe, secure, and reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. Download the top-rated Sportsbook app, DraftKings app, now, and use promo code Farzy when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 in free bets if the basketball team of your choosing simply hits a three. That's promo code Farzy to turn $1 into $100 in free bets. For a limited time, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply in partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And how about our good friends at Sky Motorcars and SkyMotorcars.com? If you don't know about Sky Motorcars, come on, people, check it out. SkyMotorcars.com, the premier luxury car dealership in the greater Philadelphia area that promises to provide honest and efficient service, whether you're buying, selling, or trading in your car. Sky, not just luxury cars, though, not just luxury vehicles. They deal with a lot of our athletes in the city of Philadelphia, but it's not just the luxury vehicles. They got inventory for every budget. Go to SkyMotorcars.com. That's SkyMotorcars.com to learn more. When you buy or sell your next vehicle, make sure you use Sky and tell them Marc Farzetta sent you. And finally, how about FanUp? Get involved with FanUp. If you haven't fanned up yet, then come on. What are you waiting for? Squad up with your friends. Download the FanUp app in the App Store and use promo code FANUP and get 2,000 bonus points right out of the gate. 2,000 bonus points. Like, I've actually had a pretty good run on FanUp, so I'm around 10,000 points right now. You get 2,000 just for signing up, people. Come on now. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, you can play with your friends. You can issue challenges to your friends. So it's not just about using a line or using a point spread or anything like that. It's something a little bit different. If you happen to have a personal bet going with your friend, you can put it in FanUp, and right there you can have an official record with that. You can squad up with your friends. Like I said, we need even more. FanUp, I've been doing it with my friends, and it's a great time because you can also win some great brand prizes. I've mentioned the Louis Vuitton bag. I've mentioned the memorabilia. I've mentioned the Peloton bike a couple of weeks ago. That's all great stuff, all at FanUp. All great stuff you could win. Pair of Jordans they gave away a couple of weeks ago. Download the FanUp app in the App Store. Use promo code FANUP and get 2,000 bonus points. That's FanUp. May the best fan win. You could be the real MVP with FanUp. Any day, any season, any week with FanUp. So make sure you take advantage of all that. How about our social media check-in, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by our friends at Steak and Maine, steakandmaine.com. Fine dining in the heart of Northeast Maryland. Make sure you check out Steak and Maine and my man, Tony Cavada. We'll work from most recent to past here. Brett's checking in on the program. I get AV. I get he's right. How the hell social media poll do people trust Sirianni? Huh? Did we ask a social media question today about the Nick Sirianni? No. I'll check it out in a second. Jacob, I think, is reacting to the Mike Kaye photo. One more time. He's saying, Christ, Mark, I'm eating my Cheerios. Did you spring that on me? Sorry, Jacob. My apologies. Mally's checking in. What's up, Mally? Who else we got here? Taylor's checking in. Why do we do this to ourselves? I assume that's about the Phillies and the Flyers withdrawing us in last night. The Flyers beat the Bruins. Phillies 4-0, and then they draw us in, and then they piss us off. Yeah, I don't know what to say. It was bound to happen sooner or later. The minute Vince Velasquez walked in, that's when we all went, okay, well, it's been a good run. So much for being undefeated. What else do we have going on here? Mally, Flyers defense, oil and vinegar. I agree. What a sad state for the team. I assume that's more about the Flyers. Henry's checking in saying, I love the way you say AV's name, laugh out loud. Do I say Alain Vigneault weird? Because here's one thing I haven't done. I've heard some people say Alain Vigneault, and I just don't think I can go there. I think you have to be French Canadian. Like the most like cultural I'll go is Claude Giroux. Now I only say that because I've met Claude Giroux a number of times, and he introduced himself as Claude. And it's like once like Michael Franco. When I met Michael Franco, he said Franco. So I went with Franco the rest of the way. Anyway, that's the whole thing there. I don't think I say Alain Vigneault. Like people were picking on me yesterday for Gonzaga. Yeah, however you say that. Gonzaga? Gonzaga. People were saying they're picking on me for that. I like to try to nail down my pronunciations because I think it tells a lot about a person when you can pronounce something correctly. So take that for what you will. In reference to yesterday's show, John's checking in saying VH1 of the 2000s, like the host any show on VH1 of the 2000s. VH1 of the 2000s has definitely changed. VH1 and MTV, for all the kids out there, they used to be like the rivals. They used to play music videos all the time, all that stuff. And now they're just reality television. That's what's taken over there. James checking in saying Howie Roseman is the evil stepmom you can't get rid of in every movie. And my stepmom, Tina. All right, James, I wish you had a better relationship with your stepmom. Who else do we have? Henry's checking in saying, oh, wait. Broads, Farzy, Vinny V needs to go. I agree, Broads. I agree. Henry's checking in saying you say Gonzaga like a damn fool, but AV is real. Okay, thank you, Henry. I appreciate it. That's our social media check-in. Brought to you by Steak in Maine and steakinmaine.com. Always appreciate people chiming in on the show, ripping me. I don't care. It's fun back and forth. Breaking stones, people. So thanks to everyone that chose to reach out and have some fun. All right. Morning Rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars and skymotorcars.com. Before I jump into what I think is the most insane story ever, before we get into the Paul Pierce story, if you haven't seen the Paul Pierce story yet, where you been? It's been quite a wild ride. Excuse me. But as I promised, in the interest of fairness, I have been waiting to hear some semblance of Nick Sirianni breaking down film, not doing an interview, not doing a press conference, just to get an opportunity to really hear him in what I like to call his natural habitat, right? Breaking down film, having a film session, talking football, X's and O's, right? How he's going to coach guys up. So here's about 90 seconds from PhiladelphiaEagles.com. And again, hat tip Bleeding Green Nation who pointed this out, and this is where I saw it. Nick Sirianni sat down with Fran Dunphy. Not Fran Dunphy at Temple, but Fran Dunphy at PhiladelphiaEagles.com, who does film review all the time. And Nick Sirianni, for the first time, I believe, as an Eagles head coach, we really heard him speak with passion. Okay, we heard the passion before, but we speak with passion and knowledge. This is what the Eagles are going to be experiencing in film sessions with their new head coach, Nick Sirianni. Here's about 90 seconds to wet your beak on a little behind-the-scenes action from the new Eagles head coach, Nick Sirianni.
Give the name away. All right, so we'll call it Dagger. I like that. I like that name. But basically what we're doing here, our offense is based on being able to create explosive plays. We know that when you can win the explosive play battle and you can win the turnover battle, that leads to a lot of success. And that's both offensively and defensively, right? Create explosive plays on offense, take them away on defense. Protect the ball on offense, take it away on defense. So what you're going to see right here is what we're trying to do is create an explosive play. And as you can see right here, we're chipping the end right here. Jadeveon Clowney over here on the left is a good pass rusher, as we all know. And we're just trying to get hands on him so we can push the ball down the field. All right, and so that's Eric Ebron's job right there, is to get a thump on him, to give Andrew Luck a little bit of time here to run this play. The job of the number 2 receiver right there, right, is to clear out of there. So he's a little bit behind right now. So he's got to go because he's got to pull this coverage out of there. He gets to where he needs to go, but that's not the most appeasing to the eye to Andrew Luck right there. But he trusts Chester Rogers to clear this thing out so he can rip this in route to Ryan Grant right there to create the explosive play. Again, it's a concept that a lot of teams in the NFL use. All right, we like to use it with all types of quarterbacks that we have, right? Unfortunately, fortunately, however you want to look at it, we had 3 different quarterbacks in Indianapolis while I was there. Andrew Luck, Jacoby Brissett, Phillip Rivers, all great players in their own right. All like to do things a little bit differently though, right? And our job as coaches is to adapt to the players that we have and run the plays that they like. But we also have a system. Right? We have a system. So yes, we want to do what our players like to do and want to do. And then also we have a system of plays that we're going to be good at, that they like. So every one of these quarterbacks looks a little different, but there's some similarities in there as well.
That's the most comfortable I've ever heard him. He definitely has a crutch of right. He definitely has that. But he breaks it down, I think, very well for you at home. And that's, again, on the Eagles website. I think he does a great job of actually breaking that play down, and it's the most comfortable you actually hear the Eagles head coach. So when we have fun with his press conference, and we will have fun with his press conference, when we're poking fun and we're laughing, whatever, keep in mind, in the interest of fairness, I just let you hear about 90 seconds of Nick Sirianni being comfortable. And that's the guy that's going to be coaching this team. The guy that's at the podium is not going to be coaching this team. All right, the guy that's going to be in a film room is coaching this team. The guy that's going to be on a football field actually being a coach is going to be coaching this team. So that's a little bit of a relief. All right, I'll say that much. Folks, have you seen the Paul Pierce story? If you're on the internet right now, if you found this show, chances are you're an internet sleuth and nothing gets by you. Paul Pierce cracks me up. And I don't mean any pun intended by saying cracks me up with the ladies that were twerking in the background of the video. But let me just say this. If you and I made $200 million in our NBA career and our NBA career was over and ESPN was like, hey, do you want to work a little bit over here? And you're like, yeah, sure, I'll work a little bit over there. I wonder if you would still give a damn. Like, I think I would give a damn because that's just my work ethic, and I'm sure that's most of yours as well. But you had to think, if you're Paul Pierce and you're about to post video of strippers twerking behind you, that it wasn't going to end well at ESPN, that they were going to move on from you. ESPN is notorious for, hey, don't be doing anything that's sexual in nature here, otherwise you're fired. Paul Pierce literally had strippers twerking behind him. He was interviewing strippers, and he put the video out at a party. And he looked like he was, in his eyes, gone. Within 24 hours, ESPN was like, nice Instagram story, you're fired. And you know what Paul Pierce thinks about this? I don't think he really cares at all. But in the interest of full disclosure here, Paul Pierce apparently, reportedly, has been offered a deal from an adult website, an adult erotica website, to not take part in erotica. No. But instead to simply break down basketball with adult movie actresses and strippers. Apparently, he's been offered $250,000 to break down basketball with those from adult entertainment. Remember Ken Bone? Do you remember that guy? The guy in the red sweater from the presidential debates years ago? Remember Ken Bone? Remember, he asked this question in his nice little red letter, and he got offered, I forget what it was, like $100,000 maybe to be in an adult film, and I don't think he ended up accepting. Thank you, Ken, for that. But that's the world we live in now, and I don't know if Paul Pierce can accept this or not. I would go ahead and say probably not. But if I'm Paul Pierce, I'd do that just for the story. I mean, hell, I'm free now. The ESPN people fired me, and like in this day and age, rightfully so. I think maybe some years ago it'd be a suspension. But anyway, they fire him. And at this point, I think that would just be hilarious. I don't know why that's so funny to me, but is that not funny to you? Not that he got fired, but the fact that he got another job offer to break down. I would watch that. I would watch it if it was complete satire, which how can it not be? Like, I would need it to be on an ESPN type set with Paul Pierce in his, the suit and whatever, and the ladies asking questions. And Paul's like, well, it's a great question you just asked there, Tammy. I'm going to tell you right now what the deal is. And then this is what the Sixers need to do. And Joel Embiid needs to drive to the paint more and to make sure he's down the blocks. Like, I would watch that, and I would laugh every second of it. But Paul Pierce releasing the video of him, it looked like he was playing some cards with some friends and the ladies and the dancing in the background and the twerking and stuff. Man, Paul Pierce. I've never been a Paul Pierce fan, but I just found this to be hilarious. And the guy made $200 million in his career, so I don't think he really gives a damn about losing a job at ESPN. And I think he was smoking something, released a video recently of him doing that to show how little he cares. And the morning after he put out the Instagram video of all the stuff that happened that got him fired, he just tweeted out, "Good morning, folks." You know what? Let us all give as many you-know-whats as Paul Pierce one day. Also in our morning rush, this is our morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Sixers, they're off a couple of days here. They're back at it Friday. Good. Rest up Joel Embiid. So they'll be back at it Friday in New Orleans, take on the Pelicans. Flyers, Islanders tomorrow night, 7 o'clock puck drop. Phillies tonight draw Dave Peterson, who is a 6'6" left-handed pitcher, 25 years old, rookie year last year. Got his feet wet, sub-4 ERA. I believe it was a 3.64 ERA from last year, so it'll be good to see how the Phillies match up against him. A left-handed pitcher tonight. Look forward to seeing what comes of that. That was the Morning Rush, brought to you by Sky Motorcars and SkyMotorcars.com. I mentioned for you earlier in the program, Big Bets segment. I got the Sixers. I think they ended up being -2 going into last night's game. I got the Sixers at a -1. And when I saw that, I thought free money. So I made a bet on the Sixers. I won that bet. I'm back, baby. I don't think I could really be back until I win multiple bets in a row. It's been a while since that happened. But taking the night off, no games really jump out to me in the NBA, neither in Major League Baseball either. But if you want to get involved in some of the action, make sure you do so with DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, and they bring us big bets every single morning. Felt like it was free money they were giving away. I'll see what the line is when the Sixers take on the Pelicans coming up on Friday. And I think the Sixers are about to hit a little bit of a roll here. So I look forward to seeing how all that comes to fruition. Ladies and gentlemen, a blast as always talking sports with you. There was so much to get to today. I'm glad we got it all in, including hearing from our head coaches. Doc Rivers, didn't need to hear from him. Sixers won last night, and they swept Boston for the season, which is just something to be elated about. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. James Hyden produced the program. This is a Buzz Sports and Entertainment production. My name is Marc Farzetta here at the Steven Singer Studios. Thanks for checking out the Farzy Show. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, and make sure you follow along the show on all our social media platforms as well. And thank you to our friend Mike Kaye of NJ.com. We got a Farzy in the Field brought to you by FanUp coming your way tomorrow. Get to head down to Citizens Bank Park and actually check out the surroundings with all the people going in, seeing who else went to the games, and just the atmosphere being back at the ballpark for a summer full of baseball. Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Thank you for watching the Farzy Show here at the Steven Singer Studios. Take it easy.